Hello and welcome to episode 52 of the Bunker to Bunker podcast. We have a very special guest here. You've seen him on Barstool Sports, Foreplay, probably at a lot of the PJ Tour signature events and the major championships. Dan Rapaport, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, so we met on the range at the Tour Championship last year. We spoke briefly, and I guess that was relatively newer of your side of joining like Barstool and Foreplay. So I thought a good, to have you on is to kind of talk about this rise of golf like social media. So I think to kind of start this conversation off, like how has like the transition been from Golf Digest to Barstool, Foreplay, being on camera, doing stuff with like players, short form and long form content?
It's been awesome. Is sort of the long and the short of it. It's been quite a learning experience. When I was at Golf Digest, it feels like so long ago, but it really wasn't. The primary way that I reached people, that I poured a lot of my energy and my effort into, was writing articles for the website. That was the job. That's what they wanted. They wanted me. The goal of the business at that company was to have web traffic and to increase ad sales that way, or they were just launching kind of a premium offering. So to increase subscriptions that way, that was where my work went. When I started at Barstool, that went away. Not that the blog isn't super important. It is important to Barstool, but my kind of mandate or my instructions were just reach golf fans and do what you do on a more broad level. And so, I'm still not 30 years old yet, so I very much identify with the younger generation, and I just know that my personal consumption media habits have changed, just like everyone else's have. When something happens in the world, I typically hear about it on Instagram or on TikTok or on Twitter. I just felt like, and also, once these platforms started publishing how many people were viewing your content, which was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and I could see, okay, if I read a really good article and, it might get 50,000 views on the website.
Yeah.
If I write a really, if a tweet goes viral or I make good point, I can reach millions of people. And so it was, and the same thing with Instagram. So it's just a different scale. And it's just, I felt like, why are we not using this medium, which is, social media, but it's still media? Why am I not using this to reach as many people as possible? Well, I think the reasons were, number one, that was the job. Number two, I went to journalism school, and that was the gold standard of journalism, at least where I was writing. And you sort of, when you grow up in that ecosystem, you view short form video or even long form video, YouTube stuff, as just sort of this like kind of weird freak show. Well, I'm way too young to have that mindset. So it's been a total shift in where my focus is, in what I'm trying to grow, in the work that I'm trying to produce. But it's gone very well. It's been very educational.
Yeah, I mean, I loved a lot of your content that you do with the caddy, the side gig, I think is the name. You do those quick like questions with some players, maybe like a minute long. So with players, like specifically, we've seen the Max Homas, going on your channel and Bob in the Bob Does Sports. Have you seen more out of the the handful of guys being more like open to doing these?
100%.
Yeah,
100%. That was one of the things about going to Barstool is, also, I think, and this is probably not fair, but I think a lot of players view kind of the traditional media with a bit of skepticism. Historically, those Golf Digest, Golf Magazine, they're proper journalists, right? And so if something's happening, if there's some sort of story or some sort of scandal, they're going to write about it. They're going to cover it. And so what we do is a little bit different. We're really just trying to entertain people, right? Like, I am not under the impression that I am Woodward or Bernstein or some sort of who has a duty to. It's like, it's really not that serious. It felt serious for a little while with the live stuff, but it's really not that serious. And so I think players being familiar with what we do, I've had a lot of players be like, yeah, no problem. I've had guys say, whatever you guys want to do, we want to do that. Because also, not just media changing, but they're now incentivized by the player impact program. They're now incentivized by a sort of marketing ecosystem where, how many social followers they have, how many impressions they do might get them more money from a hat sponsor. So they're far more open. It is difficult to get guys to commit. The side gigs are a little bit tricky because it's way more of a commitment. It's
Right.
about a 3-hour commitment. It's usually during an off week. It involves them doing something they wouldn't normally do. But when I go on the range and I say, "Hey, can I pull you for 5 minutes to do this little rapid fire interview?" I don't think anyone said no. It's just an easy thing. And so, yeah, it's been. I definitely think that, and I also think Full Swing helped a lot with me personally. Just that sort of kind of godfather of golf content, and for my face to be for me to be on that show as much as it was, I just think a lot of basically every player watched that show. And so even if they're not, because they want to see, oh, am I in it? Or if you're one of the stars who are featured in it, obviously you want to see how you're portrayed. If you're not one of the guys who are in it, you want to see how the other guys are portrayed. And so I think I walk around and people are more familiar with my face. They might have been familiar with my Twitter before or with, something I've written before. But when they see you speak and they see you speak in a lot of different areas, they just become more familiar with you.
Yeah, and it also sounds like these players are more comfortable on the content golf media, since if you're a TaylorMade sponsor, right, you have Tommy Fleetwood, Morikawa, Nelly Korda, like now these people are kind of contractually obligated to kind of do these type of things.
So there are some things that is definitely part of it, but maybe not as much as you'd think. So the way it works with us in TaylorMade is it's like TaylorMade Media Day. It's called. It's actually a few different days. It's like more like TaylorMade Media Week. I think it's 2 or 3 days. But we go down there and we film a lot of stuff. But that's kind of it. We do that in November with a bunch of different guys. But you're right. I mean, we definitely do develop relationships from those experiences. And so, we filmed some stuff with Scotty Scheffler kind of right before he took off, where he was pieing us in the face. We filmed something with Tommy Fleetwood where we were doing this obstacle course. We filmed, a challenge with Colin Morikawa. And then, when you see these guys, it's like, you're just familiar. The more you hang out with people, and that's one of the reasons why I still make an effort to go to a lot of events. I don't typically stay Monday through Sunday the way that I used to. I'm married now. My wife works a lot. We have a dog. It's just a little bit of a different calculation. But I go Tuesday, Wednesday, because I feel like those are the days where I can really talk to people and really develop relationships. And not just players, but, caddies and tournament officials and agents. And, the PGA Tour is kind of a traveling circus is kind of the old phrase, but it's very true. It's the same people. It's funny. It's different cities, but it's the same people everywhere. And I'm a big believer that the only way you can really develop relationships is in person. It's one thing to text and this and the other, but when you see someone and you walk a couple holes, you make them laugh, it's just a different vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I've started this podcast for over a year now. I post on Twitter and stuff, and I guess the reason why you're on here is I was talking with you at the range. I made an effort. I have a friend down in Atlanta, so I might go back for the
I can tell you for sure that you're not the first person to reach out to me, but because I met you in person, I feel more of a connection to do it.
Yeah.
Right. If you had just researched, if you had just hit me up on LinkedIn, I probably wouldn't have responded. Just not nothing personal. It's just you only have so much time in your life, and so that's one thing that I hope doesn't get lost with all how much world has moved online. Is the human voice and the human face are a highly sophisticated communicative device that have evolved over millions and millions of years, and tone and facial expression and cadence matters, and it matters a lot. Right. And you just don't get that from reading a text.
Yeah, I mean, when I went to the Arnold Palmer this year, I went on a Wednesday and Thursday, so it was very similar to a practice round, and I saw Xander and Austin Kaiser on the chipping green. It's like 5 o'clock, like 6 o'clock, and I was like, I might as well go over there and try to talk with them. Xander was locked in doing his stuff. Me and my brother and Kaiser started to talk for maybe like 20 minutes, not even about golf. He's like he's a Denver Broncos fan. So
big Denver Broncos fan.
Yeah, so he was the height of the NFL free agency. So we're talking about Kirk Cousins, who he wants, Justin Fields, so on and so on. And then when we left an hour later, it drove by, stopped, and just said hi to us. He was like, "You guys, cool guys, hope to see you guys soon." So having that too, so I definitely agree with that. So hopefully, I'm trying to plan on going to the Tour Championship Creator Classic too, which I know
Yeah.
you're involved in too. So do you want to kind of go into what your plans on for?
Yeah, so we're still sort of figuring out the details, but I know I'll be on course, walking with a group. I think it's really cool. I think, the PGA Tour, we've been waiting for them to sort of hop on this YouTube social media influencer
Right.
train because it's golf and it's massive. And the PGA Tour is obviously, they have a unique capability to host these type of events because I'll tell you the hardest thing. Uh, there's a few different difficulties in putting an event like this on. Number one is getting all the people in one place. I'm just getting the people to agree. That becomes a lot easier when you say we have this, and the golf course is another really difficult part. Getting a golf course that can handle this, that's in good enough condition that people want to
Yeah.
play. The PGA Tour has that built into their operation. They have 47 whatever it is golf courses that they host events at, and then they also have the broadcast capabilities. We did something similar for the Q at Myrtle Beach. I actually played in that one,
Right.
but it was very different in that there was no live audience, and it wasn't live itself. It didn't come out until a couple months later, and they did a good job with the production and the broadcast. But they're not the PGA Tour. They don't have trackmans on every hole. They don't have these crazy drone shots. They don't have these graphics that show you the shot tracer and the target and all of this stuff built in like the PGA Tour does have. So it's really exciting. I think it's going to look very much like a PGA Tour broadcast, just instead of Lucas Glover hitting the tee shot, it's Grant Horvat. And I think that's exciting. I sort of view it as a big experiment. It's the first of its kind, the Q notwithstanding. And I'm sure there will be things that work great, and I'm sure there will be things that really don't work. That's to be expected anytime you're trying something new. But I think it's very exciting that the PGA Tour is kind of broadening their scope to include this very real and very hot section of golf.
I mean, they have nothing to lose doing this
Right.
event. I mean, kids are gonna come. I actually want to like be there just to see what like the crowds are like
I think
and
it's
what
going to
kind
be
of
big
draw.
because anyone who's
Yeah.
got a Wednesday ticket, so there's already usually 10 whatever thousand people at a practice day.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of kids who, it's after school, it's at 4 o'clock, like, or five. I don't know when it's going to start. And some schools maybe haven't started yet. I don't know what the schedule's like, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are going to show up. I really do. I think, when we've done certain things like this, I played in the good, the
Right.
first one, the
Yeah.
Desert Open at night. I couldn't believe the crowd that was there, and it was 40 degrees, and it was a par three course, and it was, so I think the turnout's going to be awesome, and I think also I bet you a lot, some tour pros will show up too because they'll finish their practice, they'll be on the range like, what's going on over here, and I think they'll kind of check it out and be walking along. So I think it's going to be kind of a celebration of golf. It's going to be. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely same for me. That's the reason I might go. So I might see you out there and make sure to say hi. But
Definitely.
with the good event, how are you feeling with these cameras on? Which you're usually that guy who's talking to players, and now you're on TV. I know
Yeah.
it's a different magnitude, but these guys are pretty high level. You like block there. You play with the Willie Wilcox, who played on tour, who's a caddy for Sanjay. And so kind of talk about that experience, like being on the course, hitting some shots.
Yeah, it was a really really fun day. It was Willie and I. Willie's one of my best friends. We've become really close over the last couple of years. Just a one of a kind individual.
Yeah.
I love him. I've never met someone who loves golf more than he does. I really mean that. Like he'll text me and he'll say, "I'm dying to play tomorrow." I go, Willie, how many times did you play last week? He goes, 6.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he's just, some people they just love it. So I felt a little bit better having a PGA Tour player on my side. Willie is such a great player still, but it was very funny. We were on the first tee, and it was really cold, and the first tee was quite the scene. And he kind of looks at me and he's like, "I'm so nervous, man. I can barely feel my hands." And I'm like, "Willie, you played on the PGA Tour." He's like, "I was heavily medicated." I am not in the same mental space that I was in when I played on tour.
Yeah.
And he was pretty shaky for the first 3 or 4 holes. We also had Big Lot, Eric Lottery was hanging out with us that day. He was kind of our informal caddy. I think he, after a couple holes, I played really nice. I was a couple under the first 4 holes on my own ball.
Yeah.
And then Willie started to really cook, which was awesome to see. So it was a really fun day. I felt like a tour pro, which was fun.
Yeah.
I just remember like on the second or third hole, we hit it to the right of the green. It was kind of a drivable par 4, and I just remember I was kind of, I walked on the other side of the hole, and then I walked back, and then, I kind of went halfway, and I chipped it and it almost went in, and the crowd loved it, and I kind of tipped my cap, and I was like, that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like to play on tour. So it was a really fun experience, and I feel I was lucky to be included.
Yeah. Yeah. That was awesome. I guess with Good and Grand and all these big groups, what have you learned and Foreplay has learned, like being with these groups? I know you guys went on a week with them, and that was great content. You could tell that you guys had some sort of great like bond. It wasn't like just for the camera. So what have you guys learned? 'Cause I know you guys are more embracing that YouTube golf, doing scrambles, alt shot, different challenges. Like what have you guys really have learned from those type of groups?
Yeah. I think the main thing that I've learned is it's important to play well, but not nearly as important as you think that it is. The editors do such a great job in sort of, if you're playing bad, they're not going to embarrass you, or, it's an entertainment product, and we're not professional golfers, right? If people want to watch the best golf in the world, they'll turn on a broadcast. They want to see good golf. Don't get me wrong. That no one really wants to watch someone hit shanks, but the worst thing that you could possibly do is let your play impact your attitude, your mood, the way you interact with other people. And notice that the good guys, as golfers, the natural tendency is you want to play well. And if you're not playing well, or you're not playing up to your standards, that hurts your pride, and that, it's going to affect your mood. I noticed that those guys, whether they're playing great or playing terrible, you really couldn't tell the difference, because they always keep their eyes on the prize. And it's important to remember that the prize is not shooting a good score necessarily. The prize, are we putting out something that people want to watch? And people typically want to watch happy people who are having a good time.
Yeah, that was a great week for you guys. I saw that Joey Coldcut's made a hole in one. Bobby Fairways has. We need someone from Foreplay to get a hole in one.
Well, Riggs made a hole in one on a par 3 course, and kind of made it seem like he made a hole in one, a real hole in one. So that was a big topic of debate on our most recent podcast. We made a rule on the last podcast that every single par 3, whether you're filming or not, like filming officially with the producers and stuff, has to be filmed. It has to be filmed. If that happens, it can't not be on camera. That is the worst nightmare.
Yeah, that was funny. I kind of want to switch back to PJ Tour guys. Something that we've seen in all sports is that the professional, even like the big time athletes, are having like their own like podcast. Jason Kelsey, Travis Kelsey, you have like Pat Bev, right? Barstool. A lot of like basketball players are having these podcasts. We haven't seen a PJ Tour not level, because like Smiley and Colt Knost are both, we're
but
on tour.
They're not playing right now.
But like they're not, active players. So I always wonder, with the social media that we're at, with whole like Bryson, like why hasn't you think someone has started their own like podcast, have like a weekly episode?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really know the answer. I'm surprised Bryson hasn't done it. Maybe Bryson doesn't. A podcast is a bit of a different skill set than YouTube.
Yeah.
Bryson is so incredibly gifted as a golfer. He's so good, and he's always been so good. I remember growing up, junior golf, California, always hearing about that guy,
right?
And how good and how. So, being good at playing golf on camera, and being good about for yapping for an hour, it's not necessarily the same skill set. Max Homa did it for a little bit with Shane Bacon, but he stopped.
Okay.
And I think the reason was he just I don't know how much benefit there is to it for those guys. I guess if you really like talking and you want but Jason Kelsey is retired.
Yeah.
now, right? So it sort of served as a bridge into the later stages of his career. Pat Bev is playing in Israel now, I believe. He just signed a
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah, he is.
So it's also sort of toward the latter stages of his career. But yeah, you're right. There are other guys who are in their prime. I don't know the answer. It's more work than you would expect, and maybe guys just don't want to deal with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, me starting my own podcast and having my own 9 to 5 job is a lot to handle. But I just see like, you can hire. I do all my stuff. I cut, edit, clip, post everything out. You guys have like a pretty big team, and just like the rise of like Bryson, I think just podcasts, and I think we could see someone who's later in their career start a podcast because then they can put something out there that CBS, NBC, ESPN like might see them on camera and get more comfortable. I mean, we've seen like a Kevin Kisner, but like we've seen Kevin Kisner with Riggs on camera. He's probably one of his the personality to be on TV, but he was like awesome when he was on for those couple of times.
Yeah, it'll happen. I'm sure it
Yeah,
will. It's been interesting watching Kisner this year because he struggled on the golf course, and it felt like for a second there it was sort of his chair to lose, or his chair, whether he wanted to decide to
yeah,
take that step or not. He decided that he was going to play full time this year. He's an assistant captain on the President's Cup team. It's a hard decision to make, man. I remember Harold Varner once said that Tiger once told him that Harold Varner bought a boat shortly after turning pro,
okay,
and then he sold it. And the reason he sold it was he said, Tiger told me that any day that's good to be on the boat is a day that's good to be out practicing. And I just
hmm.
wonder if, one of these guys are thinking to myself, I could be making a podcast and thinking about what I'm going to say, or I
Yeah,
could be practicing golf. And there's so much money in the game now that it's never been more richly rewarded playing well than it is right now.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I know we have a couple more minutes. I want to ask you what for the 2025 season. Obviously, there's still uncertainty about what players are going to be playing together. But beside that, what are you bullish on for like the next year in like golf, like media, YouTube, just anything?
Yeah. Yeah, well, in addition to the growth of the space and on the social side and the YouTube side, I think we've got a really really special athlete in our sport right now in Scotty Scheffler who has put some serious distance. I mean, Xander Schauffele sort of
Yeah,
notwithstanding, but has put some serious distance between himself and everybody else in the game, and I think the sport is better for it. I think when we have someone like that, and I think Scotty is slowly starting to understand the role that he has, or that he can fulfill as the undisputed best player in the world. He's been posting on Instagram a little bit more. He's never going to be like a Bryson guy who's like, hey, come see my house and this and that. But I think he's beginning to understand that it doesn't take all that much effort for him to really make an impact and to leave a mark. I mean, look at the action his posts do, right? Like, everyone loves a winner, and he is a fucking winner.
yeah,
7 wins on the year, Masters, Players, 4 other elevated events, Olympic gold. He's someone that everybody knows now, and I think it's gonna be cool to watch him kind of embrace that role in kind of a different way.
yeah. I mean, it also helped him that he got
Oh, it helps tremendously.
handcuffed. I have like friends texting me, girls that don't even watch golf. They're like, "Who's this guy Scheffler guy that got handcuffed?" That I'm like everyone's talking about in our office, and I was like, "Wow!" And now people are texting me who don't really follow golf is like, "He did it again." Scheffler won,
Yeah,
and like he has like his kid and him. I think him like crying, showing that much like emotion, golf not being a big like Olympic sport, and him
yeah.
doing that is great. And then on
Yeah,
what
and
seven?
and
Yeah, go ahead.
the other thing I'll say, is as far as kind of dovetailing a little bit off the Olympics is next year's a Ryder Cup year, and it's a Ryder Cup in New York at Bethpage Black, which is, as living in New York, that is New York's home course. Even guys who are lucky enough to be members of Shinnecock or National or Wingfoot, Bethpage occupies a very different space in sort of the collective golf consciousness. it's a true muni. And I think having the tournament at that golf course, in that city, with Keegan as the captain, who is 37 years old. You know, we know how much, how just passionate he is as a person,
Yeah.
how deeply he feels things, how much he cares about the Ryder Cup. I think it's going to be a really, really big event for golf and a really big year.
Very funny you brought up that. I am planning to tomorrow night drive to Bethpage Black and do like the whole camping
You're
out
going to stay over in the
experience.
whole thing?
Yeah, I'm like, there's no. I mean, I like live in like New York. I might as well try to do it now.
Have you never played it?
No, I was there in
Oh,
2019 for the entire week. So we're playing. We're gonna. After this, I have to go out and buy some stuff to camp out, some like water, some snacks and stuff. But yeah. So we're doing that, doing it
it's
tomorrow
amazing.
night, playing Thursday.
It's really, you know, the course, it doesn't have crazy views. It's not the most unbelievable piece of property. You know, it's a big golf course with a lot of trees. But
Yeah,
I guarantee that when you walk off, you'll understand why it is so special. It's an amazing place. It serves a really awesome special role in the game, and I think it's just really cool that we're gonna have one of the biggest tournaments in the world on a course that everyone can play. And you know, yes, Pebble Beach is public, and Kiowa
yeah,
is technically public, but they're like $900 to play, and they're in these, like, you know, areas that are, you know, it's another going to be another $800 for flights, and it's just, Bethpage is not like that. You're going to go there
no,
and you're going to sleep over and you're going to pay $70 for your tee time. And it's just, there's just nowhere else in golf really like that, apart from Torrey Pines. But Torrey Pines does not have the same gravitas that Bethpage does.
yeah, for sure. I'm actually gonna go to the golf range tonight. So my driver not going straight, and you need to be straight at
Yeah, the
Bethpage
rough
Black.
is
So
usually pretty juicy out there, so it'll
yeah,
be a long. Just be prepared to just be prepared. It's a bit of a physical test. It's a
it
long,
is.
hard, difficult golf course.
Yeah, but all right, Dan, we're at that mark. I appreciate your time. I watch a lot of your stuff, your quick content stuff, foreplay, long form, short form. I'll let you know if I go out to the Tour Championship, and good luck on doing that little career classic. It's gonna be like awesome.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
All right, Dan. Talk soon.